Orlando, Florida, springtime home of the Washington Nationals, is one of the country's most delightful and beautiful resort cities. Tinker Field is alive with activity as the Washington Baseball Club begins its rigorous spring training drills.
This was the time of year where dreams were born. That was especially true in 1953 when a young boy named Davey Johnson stepped onto a big league ball field for the very first time. Not as a player, at least not yet.
And it was great. And when I went in that locker room with all those guys, I made up my mind when I was 10 years old, I want to be a big leaguer. That's my goal. I'm going to be a big leaguer.
What he would need was an opportunity. What he also wanted was an education, so he set his sights on college.
When I was going to sign a scholarship at Texas A&M, Tom Chandler offered me a 4-year scholarship. He was a very famous baseball coach back in the day. And he said, sign the contract. And so I said, I like to read things. And I looked at it and said, 1-year scholarship. I said, Coach, you promised me 4. That says 1. He looked me right in the eye and said, that's the problem with the youth today, Davey. You're all looking for security and not an opportunity. I said, give me that thing. I signed it. And that was a big lesson I learned. Not security, but opportunity.
He learned not just to look for opportunity, but to leap at the chance.
We have a lot of young ball players in here, and I think we have a lot of great prospects. I know we have about 10 candidates for my job, and so...
It came from the Baltimore Orioles, where he would win 4 pennants and 2 World Series.
This time the glove belongs to Dave Johnson on this 3rd inning shot by Pete Rose.
Opportunity opened the door, but his positive attitude helped him walk through. He was a 4-time All-Star in a 13-year career, and just as that ended, he found another opportunity. He became a manager. He took the Mets to the World Series championship in 1986, 3 other teams to their league championship series, and he won Manager of the Year in the NL and AL before finally retiring at the age of 70 as one of the greatest leaders in the game. Pretty much everybody you ever managed probably feels like that guy cared about me.
Well, you know, as a manager, you always wanted to do one thing, to help the individual player live up to their potential. You didn't want to ever talk to him about anything negative. You always wanted to talk about the things he did well, and because you wanted them to feel good about themselves, positive about themselves, so that they would get the most out of their ability. And I feel like I've done that. You know, I knew beforehand that life can be very difficult. It can have many ups and downs. Obviously, I had many ups and downs in my career with injuries and poor seasons and stuff, but I had my successes. So I always think that you can pass that on to anybody, how to stay positive.
And Davey, you've suffered some of the lowest lows that anybody could. I mean, you lost a daughter.
Yeah, Andrea was, I had three great kids. Davey was my oldest, and Dawn. Dawn and Andrea were very athletic, great swimmers. Andrea loved to go surf in the highest waves you can get, and I think she was at a point she even wanted to jump out of a plane. She was a risk taker, kind of like me. I feel like I'm kind of a risk taker, and unfortunately she got sick and passed away.
Those aren't the only challenges. You've had, like everybody, you look great, but you've had health scares. You had half of your stomach removed. You had a heart aneurysm. How are you doing? And how does somebody who's an athlete, the top of their craft physically, how do you deal with these health issues?
Well, that's a heck of a question because, a lot of people don't understand my body was my life. My feet, my legs, my arms, my eyes, everything was my life. And all of a sudden, when I hit about 71, now all of a sudden I got tingling feet, I got neuropathy, I got osteoarthritis, had arrhythmia, I had a bad stomach, and unfortunately they took out half my stomach and I had a ruptured appendix. It's just, when you get older, and my body provided such great success for me and was such a good friend of mine, now it's kind of having a little hard time. You just have to accept it, that that's the way it is. And and go deal with it.
And people assume too, Davey, oh, you were baseball, you don't have any financial worries, but you came in kind of early.
I came in early. In my first year in the big leagues, I made $6,500.
Did you think your life was over when you took the uniform off for the last time?
Oh, not at all. Because I always, ever since I put the uniform on as a player or whatever, I felt like you have to have challenges outside of your profession. You have to have other professions. So many players, when they retired, like Elrod Hendricks, when he retired, his life was over as far as he was concerned. He died. Flanagan, same way. I mean, but I saw it with many more cases other than that. And I wanted to make sure I had interests outside of baseball that would keep me mentally occupied and mentally challenged.
Sounds to me like you learned as much as you taught.
You do. If you don't learn, you learn every day. I mean, I'm still learning.
So manage the rest of us. Help us scout. What are the characteristics that make up a winner in life?
Well, you know, everybody looks at somebody's ability, you know, especially in baseball, you know, in their mannerisms, whatever. To me, the most important thing is their makeup. What's their drive to succeed? And that comes from within. And here and here. And I've taken players and won championships with guys that had half the ability of other players.
Can you teach that, Davey, or are you born with it?
I think you get that through your upbringing and the challenges you face that are early in life.
That'll do it for Davey Johnson. And he went out there like he was a man on a mission.
You're managing at 70. You fall in love again and change your life and get married in your 50s.
Yeah.
Life after 50 wasn't bad for Davey Johnson.
No, it was great, you know. And
it may be some of the best times of your life after 50.
yeah, no question about it. And I'm not really one that really looks in the past. You know, I live today. There's been plenty of challenges today and then tomorrow. That's basically how I've always lived. Every day is the most fun day of my life, and that's what I go by.